Deer Valley Unified School District. Hey, my friends, thank you for considering me as a speaker for your event this early 2019 second semester. Ms. Diane Sanderson, it was a pleasure and an honor to have the opportunity of speaking with you and getting to understand what yourself and Scott Warner and the rest of your administration is interested in doing. So Mr. Scott Warner and fellow administration and committee members looking to make this a successful event, it's a pleasure. It's an honor to meet you. I am Jeff Yalden. So if I'm understanding this correctly, you're interested in possibly 3 events for each high school community to mainly target your teachers, staff, parents, and the local high school community. Given a 2-hour window of time, plus an hour of question and answers, I think we can send a very strong message that is very well received. So in the short amount of time that I have with you, I'm going to try and outline my thoughts and share my experiences and how best we can work together, the win-win situation. First, my experiences. It's very simple. Every school community is different in what they want and their needs, whether it be just having had a completed suicide or multiple suicides, a community just wanting to be proactive and bring mental health awareness or mental wellness into their curriculum. Every program, every school is different, and the school administration as well is different in their experiences, their background with teen mental health, their thoughts and feelings, mental health with our curriculum, what's important, what do we need to address, social and emotional learning. Ultimately, I want to know what your needs are and your wants. And there, my job is to listen and meet you where you're at with my experience and knowledge. Again, what's the win-win? Let's make an impact. Let's give hope and inspire lives. So thank you, in any event, for seeing the need and addressing teen mental health. I think along with the opioid crisis, this is the greatest healthcare crisis of our time. And I think this is where we start, silencing the stigma and ridding people struggling silently with shame and giving them permission to speak up and to know that it's okay to ask for help. I think we also need to validate our teachers and our staff members, parents as well, in the work they do as trusted and significant adults and parents, and ultimately their influence every single day on our young people. So I think with parents, different than teachers, but, kind of very similar. We're all inspiring and influencing and teaching and encouraging and supporting and loving and disciplining. We need to teach and remind our parents their responsibility being a parent, not their child's friend. Ultimately, I think a lot of this comes down to it is a parent's issue. And if parents would do their job in the home, I think it makes it a lot easier for us as educators to do our job in the classroom. But parenting today, it's harder than it's ever been. I think teaching is harder than it's ever been. I think being a teen is harder than it's ever been. So, I think that's important, is the message of validation, encouragement, and support to our parents and teachers, and talking about, their responsibilities. And I'll talk a little bit more. Usually I come into a high school community and I have a meet and greet with school administration. This is when I'm spending 14, 15-hour days in the building. I speak to the teens, the teachers, the staff. I spend time in the halls talking school climate, culture, social emotional learning, and mentoring teens one-on-one after they hear me speak. And at night, I speak to parents in the community. This is usually, like I said, a 14, 15-hour day. It's a game changer. And I'll be honest with you, I don't even have time to eat or even go to the bathroom. This day gets just absolutely crazy, insane, awesome, fun. The connection, the relationships, it's beautiful. But I think what you are looking at is one presentation in each community. That's what I'm understanding. So I'd like to talk to you more about, is there something we could be doing in the schools during the day where we're really making the connection, and also the teens are sending the message home to their parents? Either way, my office, my staff, we're going to help you market this if I'm just doing teachers, parents, and community. Again, this is your event. I want to know how best I can fit in, the greatest impact, and really using my time to your benefit. So here's what I would focus on in the 2-hour talk. Obviously, teens today and their mental health. What are some of the triggers? What is mental illness today and the diagnoses, not just major depression or dysthymia or schizophrenia, bipolar, but also gaming is certainly going to be a diagnosis very shortly. Social media depression, the dopamine effect. I'll go into heavy detail with that. Also, the opioid crisis, vaping, juuling, and why it has become popular amongst our teens. And how many teens are actually vaping? You'd be surprised. Teen mental health, the diagnosis, what's important, the who, what, when, where, and why. Obviously, the coping skills, problem-solving skills, our kids' self-esteem, technology, and the effect that it is having on our teens today. That's smartphones, social media, YouTube, the internet, talking to parents about balance and boundaries and having to be more aware and present in their teens' lives. The dopamine effect, what is it and why is it a chemical that alters the mind? And also how our teenagers aren't mature enough to understand the consequences of dopamine and why parents need to establish more strict balance and boundaries in their kids' smartphone use and social media platforms. Speaking of that, then I always get the question, well, Jeff, you're talking like kids and their smartphones, but yet our schools are giving iPads and Chromebooks to our kids. What's the difference? Again, dopamine effect. I'll talk heavily about that. I'll also spend time talking about my theory on teen suicide, the feeling of I'm alone and I don't have meaningful relationships and why that is. Also, the I'm a burden, I feel like I'm disappointing my family and why that is. And then those two feelings lead to a desire for suicide. And here's the thing, if the pain day after day, week after week, after month, after it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, you start to fall into the desire for suicide. Then the ultimate question that tells me major red flag,